Well, we've been loving the podcast, The Everest for the Australian Turf Club, and joining me now, one of the absolute legends of the racing game, John Tapp. How are you?
Hello, Timmy. Nice to be with you.
It's a cracking race, this, isn't it? It's got so much to it, so much storytelling ability. I know you're a historian when it comes to this sport, and it's unique.
It certainly is, Tim. I've got to say, when Peter V'landys first came up with the idea a little over 4 years ago, he modelled it, of course, on a concept that had already got started in Florida at Gulfstream Park, and Peter followed exactly the same model. Sadly, the American version of the Everest has tumbled over because of the COVID crisis. Their prize money last year was down to $3 million. Ours is remaining very stabilised at 15 million. But when I heard that this race was being mooted for Sydney, I was horrified at first to think they could throw that much money at a sprint race, at a 1,200 metre race, because I'm a traditionalist. I've always loved races like the Epsom and the Doncaster over that testing Randwick mile, and the Derby and the Oaks over the classic distance of 2,400. And that absolutely horrified me that that sort of money was available for a race that would be all over in less than 70 seconds. I've got to say, I've changed my thinking.
It's that kind of race, isn't it? And I know that it is talked about all around the world because it has so many elements to it, whether you be one of the slot holders trying to play that game of poker or chess. Do I go early? Do I hold on to see what sprinter's in form? Down to the trainers who are trying to get their horse ready, because every trainer wants an Everest runner. And it's that jockeying that goes on pretty much. There's a story to tell for 12 months.
Yeah, Tim, those that go early, of course, run a grave risk. Max Whitby and Neil Werrett locked in Masked Crusader many weeks ago. Inglis locked in G-Tra many weeks ago. Chris Waller Racing claimed Nature Strip a long time ago, seemingly a long time ago, and they run the risk that something will go wrong between now and the 16th of October. The thoroughbred, Tim, as you're well aware, is a fragile unit, and things happen overnight virtually. They'll have an opportunity to replace their original runner if need be, but it won't be quite the same. Then again, those that wait until the very last minute might finish up with the lesser opportunity of winning the race. It's hard to know. As you say, that jockeying for slot or horses to occupy the slots is part of the entertainment.
Sure is. And last year, and I love the story, he had his Melbourne Cup winner with Kensai. Sir Dapper Lodge is where he trains from. Hot Danish, of course, a special horse for Les Bridge because of the real unique touch that horse and the horse's story had with his late wife. For him to come out, and he's 83 now, and train that beautiful grey, by not a single doubt, out of Pinocchio, and the way he just burst through.
Tim, that was a spectacular win. And I might add, of the 4 runnings of the Everest so far, Classique Legend recorded the biggest winning margin. That's how quickly he was going in the last 50 or 60 metres. He put just over 2 lengths on the opposition in the closing stages. He gave them 8 or 9 lengths start from the home turn. Admittedly, they'd gone at a hectic breakneck speed up front, which played into his hands. But to unleash like that was quite astonishing. And Tim, you've got to say, he's obviously had problems. He went to Hong Kong where he lost a leg, really. He bled from one nostril in a track gallop. So there are question marks hanging over Classique Legend. But just have a look at the replay of his win last year and consider this. If he can recapture that form or very close to it, he's got to be the one to beat again, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Look, Chris Waller's done some amazing work with Nature Strip, precocious, prodigious talent, but he's always got that little thing, Tappy, and as you say, they are fragile at times, thoroughbreds, and if their starts aren't quite there, it's a problem. So Nature Strip, as much as they've done great work, there's always going to be that slight question mark.
He's been beautifully looked after, hasn't he, Nature Strip? He's a 7-year-old. He's done very little racing, relatively, and Chris has spaced his runs, put him in the right races. He's done a remarkable job. I think he's won half a dozen Group 1s already. This has been his target for 12 months, and every move that Waller has made has been with this year's Everest in the back of his mind.
What do you think about Stay Inside? Michael Friedman, of course, won the slipper. Moderate return to racing first up, but you can't rule out a horse on one first up performance, can you?
No, you cannot. Tim, you've got to remember, yes, opened the floodgates as far as the Everest is concerned. I think knockers and detractors thought it would remain a sprint race for huge prize money for seasoned old campaigners like Redzel. But all of a sudden, along comes this 3-year-old, having only his 8th race start, blows him away in the Everest and recorded a Randwick track record, which is likely to stand for a long, long time. Now, that has opened the floodgates, and that's why these 3-year-olds have got to be respected. If you're worried about Stay Inside's failure in the San Domenico at Kembla last Saturday, I'd invite you to have a close look at the closing stages, more so at the top of the straight, let's say at the 300 metres, where I thought he got completely lost in the going. I think he lost his rudder there for a few strides. His hind end seemed to get completely out of coordination, and I'm not taking a lot of notice of Stay Inside's failure. I'll be looking for him on a firm track from here on in.
And what about Yes? Certainly made a very valuable proposition in the breeding barn, didn't it?
Tim, people have wondered whether or not the Everest should be given Group 1 status. Some say it should, others don't agree with that, because it might detract from the value of a potential stallion or a potential brood mare. Well, it didn't detract from Yes's stud value. After he won the Everest, as you know, he went amiss and was retired and was syndicated for $40 million. So the Everest lacking Group 1 status didn't deter people who wanted to invest in a stallion.
No, not at all. That is yes, very much. Now, Tappy, what about, look, as a boy, you went to Royal Randwick and spent most of your career traversing between Rose Hill and Warwick Farm and Canterbury Park and Randwick. They're all the ATC race courses, and we all have a genuine love for them, and people that really enjoy this industry. Well, what about Randwick in particular? It does have a majesty, doesn't it? And it's an international majesty, that race course.
Tim, I was involved in a little video promotion last November at Randwick Racecourse, which was filmed right near the winning post. We were standing a metre away from the winning post. Whilst waiting for the cameraman to set up, I suddenly became aware of the history surrounding me at that moment. And with my imagination running riot, as it often does, I could feel the presence of Farlap, Carbine, if you like, go back to the 19th century, Kingston Town, Burnborough, Tulloch, Winks, all of the great horses that had galloped over the very spot upon which I was standing. So you haven't got to sell me about Randwick. It's a unique place.
And of course, Winks, the most contemporary of those, Tappy, that you mentioned. What an amazing racehorse she was. I was there for Queen Elizabeth Stakes. The place roared, and having covered sport for 30 odd years now, I don't think I've been at a place with a better atmosphere than that day. What about the Winx stand? It's going to be there forever for people to look up at, like the sculpture will be at Rose Hill.
Yeah, a wonderful memorabilia and a wonderful tribute to the horse that many describe as the greatest ever. Obviously, there'll be arguments on that score. However, Tim, in the last 25 or 30 years, there's been a move towards monumental new grandstands being named after administrators or the people in executive positions with race clubs, which I don't think is the way to go. Surely the great horses around which this sport revolves deserve, a perpetual tribute like the Winx stand. I think it's a great move. It's a lot of money, but it'll prove to be worth every cent. That's the kind of thing that'll bring the younger generation to the races. And the bronze at Rose Hill apparently has quite an effect on people when they walk through the turnstiles. Great stuff.
They're just beautiful animals, aren't they? Horses of any kind. We speak particularly here of the thoroughbred and those involved in this industry. And it's important to get this message across as many times as we can. Just love horses.
Well, they're a noble creature, Tim. I think I've mentioned this to you several times in the past, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder when I say that there's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a man.
Yeah, no, you're not stealing my thunder. You're the first to tell me that, and I've used it. I have to put my hands up, but I've used it. I always say, as Tappy says, that it is a fantastic line, and it's always great to chat. Thank you so much for talking the Everest and other wonderful things about horse racing here for the Australian Turf Club.
Great pleasure, Tim. Thanks for having me on the show.